Welcome back to another episode of the Crypto Serpent, and there are certain videos that every now and again when they come out you gotta listen from the start to the finish, and this is one of those days, and I am so excited to bring to you this episode because I want to take you back to an article that was published back in 2016. Some of you are so new to XRP that you may not even know this, right? But back in 2016, Google backed blockchain startup Ripple that raised $55 million from big banks. This was the big headline back in 2016, right? So Ripple, a Google-backed startup that uses blockchain technology to settle financial transactions between some of the world's biggest banks, has raised $55 million. That was the news back then. And I don't know if you knew this, right? Because sometimes, people that are inside the XRP community think that everybody's inside the XRP community, right? But you could have been told about XRP yesterday and came across the Serpent, you're welcome, and find out that you didn't know that Google backed and Google backs XRP. And the reason why I'm bringing this to you and why it's relevant that this article in 2016, first of all, to bring to your attention that Google backs Ripple. But the other thing, the big news is that Google is to roll out fintech services in Japan. Now, Google is negotiating to buy all the shares in Pring, a Tokyo-based cashless payment and settlement startup owned by Mizuru Bank and other investors. Google hopes to be able to offer fintech services. So Google has just basically partnered up with Ripple because that bank is and works with Ripple. And I mean, like, we're talking about Google. We're not talking Crypto Serpent or a random guy down the road or some bank somewhere. We're talking about Google. That's how big this is. And one of the things about the settlement and why it's so exciting the day that the settlement comes across is that this companies like Google are the big organizations that I'm doing my research on, but I am not in a position right now to bring that to the channel. They're all going to come out and say that we work with Ripple to better our company, to sell more phones. I don't know if you get my drift to where I'm going with this. But the point is, there will come a time where I'll have enough information to back my statements to come and bring you this type of information. And to me, it's really, really exciting. But those organizations are not going to come out publicly until the case is settled. It's just, it's just the way that it works. Now, I did touch on this, and it's a great article. Check it out, Ripple.com Insights, Evolving RippleNet for a Tokenized Future. Make sure you do. That's why I'm bringing it to you again today. We did also touch base yesterday that the IMF, World Bank, and BIS champion central bank digital currencies at G20. So they're backing the digital currencies, and I think, we are at the beginning of an avalanche of a transformation in the banking world, and Ripple is right in the thick of it. Now, Ripple insists on deposing former high-ranking SEC official as part of the XRP lawsuit. So we did touch that on, but this particular article that was posted on CryptoSlate.com goes a little bit even more in-depth about what Ripple wants to know more, right? So as part of the defense, Ripple wants the SEC to explain why XRP is allegedly being treated differently from other cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin and Ethereum. Namely, the company points to a statement that Hinman made in 2018, suggesting that both BTC and ETH shouldn't be considered securities due to their inherent decentralization. And he said, when I look at Bitcoin today, I do not see a central third party whose efforts are a key determining factor in the enterprise. The network on which Bitcoin functions is operational and appears to have been decentralized for some time, perhaps some inception. Now, so how's Ripple different, right? And so Ripple wants to get him on the stand. So that'll be very, very exciting to check it out. And that particular line has made headways all over the internet over the last 24 hours. I do believe the SEC is on thin ice. I do think that this is going to a settlement. I don't think they're going to go all the way. I think if they do go all the way, SEC are going to be very brave, and the risk to reward ratio, just like we do when we decide which coins to invest in, I don't think it's worth it. I mean, that's my opinion, And, you know, obviously you're entitled to your opinion, and the SEC is more than entitled to their opinion. So the IMF is encouraging the Hong Kong monetary authorities to use RippleNet. So HKMA should, where applicable, encourage network-to-network-based critical services provided to accommodate international communications and messages. And this was the argument there. And it's written here that, you know, for example, they're saying, you know, offer digital platforms and networks, e.g. RippleNet is being the one that they're mentioning there. So let's jump into Atani. Let's have a look at some indicators. Let's have a look at what's going on over there. Okay, so as we jump into Atani and we're looking at the daily chart, we are in the 60 cents. The daily is still on a bullish trend. However, you know, Bitcoin has dipped into 32,000 and it dipped even further before, you know, the making of this video. And, you know, we're getting to quite a critical stage where, you know, I think, you know, it is potentially, you know, going to start to go down and maybe even touch low 30s. And so what does that mean for us? And we're going to go over that. Now, on the hourly chart, we can see here that as soon as the RSI touched the bottom, it actually quickly went up. So it went outside of the Bollinger Band, and a massive amount of volume has brought it back up. But we're still 4.78% down for the day. So nowhere out of the woodworks. But on the 4 hour, we went completely out of the Bollinger Band, and then we've come back in. And then when we look at the 12 hour, we haven't quite got out of the Bollinger Band, but we're not too far. And now we're sort of going flat. And from a MACD point of view, it is bearish more than it is bullish. So is this it? Is this the signal of going down before we eventually go back up? At almost 5% down and Bitcoin 2.74%, it does look, it is starting to look like we're going to go down before we go up. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to be looking at the drawings. I've got quite a few to go over tonight, a little bit more than usual, because just because Google's partnered, just because Google will be, you know, involved in Japan with Ripple, that doesn't mean that temporarily that the prices aren't going to go down, right? So we do have to go over that. So let's jump into some drawings and let's go over them tonight. Okay, we kick off with a, you know, fairly simple chart on what's been happening and what the next phase could be if we are indeed going to go down to 47 cents. So we can see here what happened when we reached a peak of $1, you know, like when we were in the $1.20 sort of phase. Then from there, we went down, and we went down hard, and we went really down, like, you know, when we touched 51 cents for a second. Then we've sort of been plateauing around, and now I think we're ready for that final leg of going down to, say, 47 before we continue to rally and go up. So that's one aspect. The other aspect, to look at it from a more formal perspective, is, you know, this sort of diagram and this sort of formation of what's been happening. And so from here, then we're going to see ourselves touch 41 and then continue to rally up. So once that takes place, once we hit the bottom, we will be ready to go off. It will be the final phase, a final wave of a bearish cycle that has lasted, and we will probably finish, you know, towards the end of July, perhaps maybe even first week of August. And so it's important to acknowledge where we're at and always zoom out when in doubt. From a Bitcoin versus XRP dominance, so please don't get scared by the numbers on the right hand side. This is Bitcoin versus XRP. You know, this is that formation, and we've seen these formations happen all the time. Now, what I do want you to pay attention to is that every time it's gone down in this formation, the next leg has been bigger and way bigger. So while it has been frustrating, while it has been annoying for some of you who perhaps have bought in at $1.98 because you were told that it's going to the moon that day, then what is coming is very, very exciting. Very, very, very exciting. It's not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just calling it how it is. And the formation that is being built right now is going to be so good. So good. Now, as we look at, the rejection levels and where we're moving, what it will be the first break after we go to that. Of course, hit bottom, and then the same rules apply that I've been saying over the last couple of days. Your 70 cents, your 85 cents, your $1.10, $1.40, and then the final one is the $1.60. Break out of the $1.60 and consolidate about $1.60, and we are on the home run stretch on our way to all-time highs. So what goes down must come up. Never forget what you hold. If you are in doubt, do more research and make sure that you back it up. It's been a pleasure to bring this to you tonight, and I can't wait to see you on the next one.